where is the connection to the projector, to my computer? So, sorry for this technical preparations. I wanted to present already the application of my models to pedagogical practice, but I decided to leave it for tomorrow's presentation of the film made by the semiotically supervised subculture that we have in Tallinn. And I'll give more details about all my communities online that I'm supervising and comparing the results, combining those methods, continue and proceed in my theoretical points as well. I decided to repeat my theoretical points because the presentation of Professor Van Heusden really clarified the situation in our sphere, in our tradition of thought. So first of all, I want to say a couple of words about my teachers. I was a student of the both Yuri Lotman and Zara Mintz, and this is crucially important for my further investigation as well. When I was a third-year student, we published in co-authorship with my teacher Zara Mintz a work about functional asymmetry of brain as represented by Russian symbolist writer Andrei Bely, writer and theorist, who achieved already the results of functional asymmetry of brain before it was formulated in scientific terms. So that was very important because of the couple, heterosexual couples as the basis of the building surrounding Umwelts and so on, in balance, because of the basic brain asymmetry. So further on, I'll stay by text in order to fit the time. So, the model of double hermeneutic spiral was suggested as the result of the online experiment on building and studying the dynamic model of the semiosphere. It was presented at the conference Culture in Mediation, Total Translation, dedicated to the professor Peter Tora. And I repeated in some variants this presentation in different occasions, including the World Congress of Semiotics in La Coruña, in the session of the president of Semiotic Society, Eero Taristi. This model is based on the following major concepts. The concept of the dialectic spiral evolution by Friedrich Hegel, should I give a page? The concept of hermeneutic circle as represented by Hans-Georg Gadamer, the concept of an asymmetric dialogue by Yuri Lotman, the concept of the emblem, my PhD thesis and a book is dedicated to this, image legend, analog discrete, myth history as a basic mnemonic unit and a model of a symmetric brain by Jelena Grigorjeva. The major chapter is published in Science System Studies and is accessible. Dynamic model of the semiosphere is underlain by a number of basic principles. This is a text that builds itself in an asymmetric dialogue as a simulating game. Dialogue in turn is characterized with a constant shift or a gap between two language contours that could be detected through a memetics identification of repeated keywords, images, or say clusters. Those always change their meanings in a new context. All the process manifests the very principle of translation or say interpretation. Asymmetric dialogue is the conceptual model that was elaborated by Yuri Lotman in a series of his works. There were applications of the model to make descriptions of both functional brain asymmetry and human culture. I started my independent research career at the Laboratory of History and Semiotics after graduating from Tartu University under the guidance and supervision of Yuri Lotman, and we studied both history and brain in this laboratory. I continued those studies. So it is now clear that the principle of symmetry, that is difference that reveals itself on the background of the sameness, underlies every possible model of the universe. The productive difference between the two provides the surplus of being, meaning evolution. My tradition is well known, I'll not repeat. I will stress only evidential paradigm of history of ideas, the school of that father-founder of which was Abbe Warburg. I started with visual semiotics. Abbe Warburg, Francis Yates, art of memory, and so on. So I formulated some basic axioms that should be discussed by our congregation. When we have a set of axioms, then we can proceed in our discipline further on. That is, getting a control to programming and to staging experiment to programming reality, actually. So first, we should admit the possibility of expanding the notions of life and language to the whole universe. I stress those are terms, words. So I suggested the formulation. If and until the universe is a system, it has language nature. Language is a system of functional differences. System is a set of elements with a set of rules of its combination. That is a program or a logic of manipulation with these elements. Meanwhile, elements have their material dimension. Program or logic is exclusively intelligible. What is intelligence? A memory of how to operate with something. A memory of functional differences between elements of a system. This memory has a collective nature, say culture. Difference is a gap, a border between one and another item of perception. How the difference is detected? In communication with the other, let us say in environment or the environment or context. Every act of perception reveals the ambivalent nature of a recipient. We manifest ourselves as physical bodies and mental bodies at the same time. Thus, we represent by ourselves the general structure of sign according to Ferdinand de Saussure, carrier of meaning. Besides this, we always learn about the relative nature of these differences. We learn about relativity in communication with the other. Communication always presupposes at least two participants, sender and receiver. They can change their roles in turns. This is the most important point. We always perform the both, a sender's and a receiver's roles in the process of communication. So, as soon as we have two participants, we get four. Each of them play at least two roles, actor and spectator, observer. Communication takes place only in a problem case, cognitive dissonance. The first cognitive dissonance makes a distinction between me and the other. This is a moment of choice, explosion of possibilities. Yuri Lotman, Culture and Explosion. There are positive and negative choices. Negative choice has its border, through pain to death, at least for us humans. Positive has no other border than becoming bored. Boredom actually is a fatal disease of late empire, that is, of ages of increasing entropy we experience nowadays. Boredom leads to degeneration. We know that organs that were formed later in evolution start to decay the first. This is a very bad omen to the humankind. The universe is the result of the process of communication, that is, exchange of information, the result of detecting and memorizing, fixing in matter, functional differences, where the part of the universe, our world picture, depends on our languages. The model I got is very similar to the visualization of the theory of strings. It is important here, this is because of permanent changing our roles, that the whole system keeps its wholeness, actually, because all participants act in turns in different functions. So we see this strip of Möbius or sphere of Möbius effect. This if you look closer, this model represented, you'll see that it is covered with small holes. Every time it turns outside out, outside in and outside out. This is the dynamic thing. It is always in change, and those changes happen due to this effect. So, what is the process of semiosis? I would answer that it is a process described by hermeneutic circle, or rather spiral, because Gadamer made this precision. It is not a circle, it never closes. The surplus of meaning appears on the background of memory about previous interpretations. Still, this surplus would never appear if not the communication with the other. The otherness of the other provides us with information that is something new, that we did not know or did not think have lived before. That is creativity. In the process of communication, we discover ourselves compared to the other. Asymmetric dialogue, mirrors reflecting each other in an angle give the endless series of reflections. Creativity leads to creation. So the model of an asymmetric brain, well known already, I would only stress that this is an analytical model. It is not about physical brain, because physical brain is something very, very mobile, dynamic, and can change its functions, its parts, and so on and so on, and regenerate as well. So it is clear that any phenomena is constructed from the two different positions, static and dynamic. Those are points of view, not reality, not materiality, points of view that make the difference between two basic metrics, forms, shapes. I don't know how yet to define it. It is important that the both parts contain the both principles of perspective, and if separated, they will produce the same pair. So when we have two, we have already four, the potential of further development. This is about the ways of abstracting analog part and abstracting digital part, or maybe not abstracting, but vice versa, materializing in graphics and in model. So this principle is more general than the principle of physical distinction between two hemispheres. Physical brain is not equal to its mental phantom. Physical brain only provides some nourishing soil for it, although definitely this soil has already its topography of functional preferences formed on the previous steps of evolution, that is, memory about previous acts of communication. Program infecting brain by means of signs, I prefer now to use the term herms to correspond to the model of double hermeneutic spiral, to stress hermeneutics here. This program evolves in a random physical context and evolves every time in a different way depending on the context. We can see we have two different types of memory, hardware and software. Both have their programs of evolution. Still, they do not exist separately. They activate each other reciprocally. So, summarizing, I call this once again, I repeat again and again on the new level of a reflection, of self-reflection, if you will, but through permanent dialogue. As I built this dynamic model of Semiotic online in permanent, not simply dialogue, but polylogue with another people who deviated my thought and made corrections of my thinking. So any thought is formed and shaped in this process of checking it in comparison. So, language, that is system, appears only in the process of information exchange according to the scheme adopted by Roman Jacobson, sender, channel, receiver. Both sender and receiver here are only role functions. Each participant of the exchange process appears in the both functions. Channel in this scheme could be interpreted as a difference between two functions. Difference is always and only intelligible. Difference is always related to an observer. Message information never is identical to each of the participants. This statement is an addition to the theory of information exchange made by Yuri Lotman and defined as a productiveness of a dialogue in asymmetric systems. And at the same time refers to the concept of hermeneutic circle that is rather a spiral by Hans-Georg Gadamer. We can speak of the endless growth of information in the process of dialogue. This growth refers to the model of spiral evolution suggested by Hegel, altering roles in the process of communication provides the continuity, consistency of the information field. Evolving this model with the help of the theory of emblem, we can reformulate the definition of the role functions of the communicative partners as following: sender, impulse; receiver, observer. Thus, we draw the scheme of information exchange in correspondence with the basic duality of any natural phenomena, analog discrete, particle, wave. In essence, this is the structure of light. From one position, light acts as waves. From another point of view, it acts as particles. This is, again, the decision or choice of an observer. So, thoughts, program, concept, idea infect us by means of herms through our brain. And the basic structure of this herm is analog, digital, and so on. I can stop here, actually, at this point. All materials are online. Maybe I simply give you some image or idea how I apply already this method. So this is my reports about the pedagogic season, pedagogic fall of this, the last fall that we had. I placed all evaluation, it is opened here, non-formal evaluation as a matter of fact, because at some moment I decided that I have no right to judge whose results, essays, students' essays, or whatever, is better, from what point of view. So I refused of this position of a higher judge, and I simply formally evaluate my students. Attended the whole lecture course. you get A, and so on. So percents. But in parallel, I used a non-formal evaluation, and the results here you can see. And I invite you all to come to presentation of this film about youth subculture, and I'll explain more about different pedagogical methods, how it is applied, and so on. So, and the last but not least, I would like to inform the whole community that by the decision of expert commission of our Institute of Philosophy and Semiotics, signed by Professor Peter Torok, I was deprived of 1/2 of lecturers' position this year. This decision was based because this commission consisted of several members, but the only person who attended really my lectures this season was a student. So, based on this opinion, negative opinion of foreign students, I was fired. I see here in this hall a lot of students who attended my lecture. Please raise your hands who have attended my lectures. Not the worst students, indeed, because they are present here, who want to say that my lectures were bad, insufficient lectures, who was unsatisfied. By the way, this opinion was anonymous. So compare my CV and CV of this student who decided to fire me finally, signed by Professor Torok. So this is, I see this is a catastrophe in academy, crashing itself from the very top of it. Academics are sitting still in the tower of ivory, not applying at all their knowledge. Everything that I have heard here, except some exclusions. By the way, Arlene was also my listener, and she applies semiotics to practice, in art at least. So, it will soon, this paradise, come to an end. We should do something with our academy. Thank you for your attention.